Allow me to introduce myself.
I am the last sane sports fan.
I am a genius by trade.
I just knew too much. Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Possibly.
Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to The View from the Midwest. We're going to try to keep today's show short, but a couple big things have happened over the couple days, and then something kind of popped into my head this morning that I've kind of wondered about in the past and figured I might as well put it out there to you guys. Maybe you guys know some information that obviously I don't in regards to this, but we'll leave that towards the end. The big news that came out yesterday was if a stadium deal gets done in the city of St. Louis and the St. Louis Rams are the tenant, or potentially another football team, if all of that musical chairs kind of deal happens, the naming rights have been sold to a potential stadium on the riverfront, and it would be National Car Rental Field. It doesn't necessarily roll off the tongue, and somebody posted that they believe that Enterprise owns National Car Rental Service, which kind of begs the question, Enterprise is more known for being in the St. Louis area, so why wouldn't you call it Enterprise Stadium? Maybe they were trying to avoid any kind of Star Trek references, since the stadium is fairly modern looking. I don't know. But despite the fact that it doesn't necessarily roll off the tongue and there isn't necessarily an obvious acronym that you can use for it, I had talked with my father yesterday about this, and he thought maybe you could call it NCR Field or National or NCRS Field, something like that. But these are things that people will figure out. Somebody who's smart with these kind of things, it's just like, oh, well, we'll call it this, and that's what fans will call it. The good thing is, though, that it's a lot of money. It's, I believe, close to $150 million for the naming rights for a 20-year deal. Now, once you spread that out over 20 years, you're not getting a whole lot of money per year in the grand scheme of things, but it still helps out. It's still a national company giving up the naming rights for the stadium and showing interest in keeping football and being a part of football in the city of St. Louis. And that in and of itself is a huge step towards the NFL trying to keep the team here, towards the group that is trying to keep it here, having an extra bargaining chip when they go to the NFL and present their case. And really, it kind of boils down to the fact that St. Louis is doing everything that they can necessary. It just really kind of comes down to whether or not the NFL is playing on a level field with everybody, doing things at face value with the city of St. Louis. Because there's been weird rumors, there's been the Terry Bradshaw situation, and there's been a lot of stuff that kind of makes you wonder, have they already kind of made their decision, and all this kind of numbers game with the owners is just a bunch of smoke screen to kind of keep things looking like they're trying to do things on the up and up, but the plan is ultimately that the Rams are already gone. I would hope that that's not the case. I do believe that the league owners and the commissioner hold Dave Peacock in enough esteem that they would just kind of tell him, you're wasting your time, if that was the case. So the naming rights thing is just another extra step in presenting the case to the city. Now, as far as the idea popping into my head, and again, maybe you guys know a little bit more about this situation as to why it would not transpire, other than the obvious fact that Stan Kroenke just wants his team out of St. Louis. The thing that I don't understand why it hasn't even been broached as a possibility is Stan Kroenke seems determined to build his stadium in Los Angeles. That's fine. You want to spend your money, you own that land, you put whatever on that land that you want. But why does the team of the St. Louis Rams need to leave St. Louis? Obviously, the Chargers are looking to get out of Los Angeles. They would prefer not to be a tenant, But that isn't set 100% in stone that they are completely unwilling to be a tenant. It's just more or less right now, Dean Spanos does not want to be a tenant in a Stan Kroenke-owned stadium where the other, especially if the other tenant is going to be Stan Kroenke's team and he's going to take a back seat. But what if you're the main tenant? What if you're the main tenant with the Oakland Raiders, but the two of you do not own the stadium? Because that is the deal that I wonder why it hasn't been discussed. There's supposedly enough votes on Stan Kroenke's side to block the Carson deal. There's supposedly enough votes on Dean Spanos' side to block the Inglewood deal for the Rams. So why not an Inglewood deal for the Chargers and the Raiders, and the Rams stay in St. Louis? To me, that's the best of both worlds for Stan Kroenke, because then he gets to own the stadium. He gets to collect all that rent money coming in from two NFL franchises, and he gets to keep a team that is basically going to be worth about the same amount of money, which the value of the St. Louis Rams has apparently, according to several financial institutions, gone up, regardless of whether they move to Los Angeles or not. So you get to keep the team that you own in a stadium you didn't have to pay for in a market that is cheaper. Why is this not a possibility? I don't understand it. Again, somebody out there, comment in the comment section. Maybe there's been discussions. Maybe that's something against the NFL rules to where you can't own a stadium and not have a team that you own in it. I don't know all of those kind of details. Maybe that's the deal. But to me, that makes a lot of sense. Now again, for some reason, maybe Stan Kroenke is just fed up with the Midwest and he wants absolutely nothing to do with St. Louis, despite the fact that he was a major player in bringing the team to the city. But again, I just don't understand why you can't build your stadium, collect all the rent money of two NFL teams playing there, instead of getting absolutely nothing other than, obviously, you'd get all the ticket sales and all that from the Rams if they moved out there, but you get all the ancillary money, all the rent money from two NFL franchises, and then you get to keep your team in a stadium that you didn't have to pay for. Obviously, you would have to pay a little bit of rent, but you have to figure just based on the market area, it would be less than the cost of building the stadium out in LA. But again, obviously there's some reason why that hasn't even been discussed, because it's not even one of the far-fetched options on the table right now, and I just don't understand why. That is the view from the Midwest. What are your views on today's topics? What do you think of the new naming rights of the field? Why is my idea not a possibility? Let's get the conversation going. Comment, rate, and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up on Facebook or YouTube, and we'll keep on rolling. But until the next time, I'll see you then.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo and so much